Here's why the Everson Griffen trade failed for the Detroit Lions.
Did you realize that you were a champion in their eyes?
Hey there, football fans. My name is Derek, and welcome to the Gridiron Blitz. On this channel, we do NFL and XFL live streams, and we primarily focus on Detroit Lions content creation throughout the year. So be sure to subscribe if that's your thing. If you like all sports or all videos on every sport and every team, go ahead and check out Infinite Sports Network. The link will be the pinned comment. We do all sports on that channel, and that's something that you don't want to miss. The year is 2020, and we're in the NFL offseason. Longtime defensive end for Minnesota, Everson Griffen decides to opt out of his contract with the Vikings. He was one of only two people in the entire National Football League who had a very strict opt-out condition in his contract. There were certain criteria that Everson Griffen had to meet in order to be able to get out of that contract with Minnesota. Well, after some disagreements and some butting heads with Coach Mike Zimmer, Everson Griffen decided to opt out of his contract. And he stayed on the free agent market for quite a long time. Now, everybody who watches my channel know that I am a huge Everson Griffen fan, and I was a giant advocate of him coming to the city of Detroit to help at our lackluster defensive line for quite some time. I've wanted a defensive end since probably the 2018 draft or so. And under former head coach Matt Patricia and general manager Bob Quinn, it was just something that we never really addressed. I guess we did it last year with the Julian Okwara signing, but he didn't really even take the field that much. And if he did, he was going to be a linebacker anyway. I actually met Coach Matt Patricia last year by mistake, and it was a pleasant experience. Even though he was a terrible coach, it was still kind of neat to meet him. And when I met him, I told him it was June the 5th, 2020, and I said, hey, we need you to win, and we need you to sign. I want you to go get Everson Griffen. And he told me that he wanted him too. A lot of people actually didn't believe that this happened, but it actually did happen. Next time I ever meet a player, I'll make sure to get a picture so you guys won't have any questions. But when I met him, he said that I said I wanted him to get Everson Griffen, and he said he wanted him. So lo and behold, Everson Griffen winds up and signs with the Dallas Cowboys. For whatever reason, he got convinced to come to Jerry World. And at Jerry World, Everson Griffen accounted for, if I'm not mistaken, 3.5 sacks. I think he ended the season with 6 sacks, which was, I want to say, 2 less than he had the previous year. He goes to Dallas, and he plays 7 games for the Dallas Cowboys. Really didn't make a name for himself. You didn't hear his name called that much. And then a couple of months goes by. And before the trade deadline happened for the 2020 season, lo and behold, Everson Griffen is traded to the Detroit Lions for a 6th round pick this year. And this is why the Detroit Lions only have 6 picks and not 1 in the 6th round. We gave that pick to Dallas for Everson Griffen. Matt Patricia was 100% honest when he told me that he wanted Everson Griffen. For one reason or another, we couldn't convince him to come here during the offseason, as he was one of the late signings by the Dallas Cowboys. I think only Jadeveon Clowney went after him as far as defensive, really high-name, big-name defensive ends. The Everson Griffen trade was Matt Patricia's final push to save his job. Rumors came out in the offseason that Coach Matt Patricia wanted Derek Brown for the 2020 draft, but it was general manager Bob Quinn who wanted Jeff Okudah. And I believe that to be true because Matt Patricia told me he wanted Everson Griffen, and then they make a trade to get him right before the deadline, giving up a 6th round pick in this year's draft. But the question I put before you is, do you feel that the Everson Griffen trade was a failure? I am mixed on this whole situation. Not because I'm a big Everson Griffen fan and I wanted him to play for my team. It's because of the timing of this whole thing. By the time, if you look at it one way, for our defensive line, we had the last defense in the league. Our defensive line has really never been hasn't really been a threat in years. So for me, I have to honestly answer that the Everson Griffen trade was and was not a failure. It wasn't a failure because at the time, our defensive line had nobody to push toward the quarterback. We had a Romeo O. Trey Flowers was out and didn't return. And Everson Griffen, it was Romeo and Everson Griffen. Austin Bryant barely played. Deshaun Hand barely played as well. And Julian was barely in the game. So outside of Romeo, we had nobody, and Nick Williams wasn't really doing anything either. So Everson Griffen was brought in, and he got 2.5 sacks, several knockdowns, several pressures, a couple tackles in the time that he was here. So I think that it was not a failure in that regard. But when we look at the fact that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia wind up being fired, and them drafting for Everson Griffen cost us a 6th-round pick this year, you have to look at it and say it was a failure. At the same time, Everson Griffen was a free agent for months. He was released from Minnesota in March, and he didn't get signed to a team till right before the NFL season, just to get traded away 2 months down the road. Why couldn't the Detroit Lions get him in the offseason, persuade him to come here, and not have to give up draft capital for this year, especially seeing as how a new regime was brought in, and now Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn are no more. So they wind up costing our team, and they're not even here anymore. When Everson Griffen was traded here, I absolutely knew, because of my run-in with Matt Patricia, that I knew that the Derrick Brown rumor was true, and I also knew that this was the only way. He was trying to save his job, because our defense was already ranked worst in the league at that time. And this was like, okay, well, let me see if this guy can do anything. Okay. So in my opinion, it's a win-loss situation. Everson Griffen was a success on one hand. If you look at, okay, he played 7 games, last-ditch effort, but on the other hand, we lost a draft pick, and the regime that did this trade is not even here anymore. So I don't know, man. Everson Griffen, it still remains unsigned right now. I'm assuming that probably he will be signed after Jadeveon Clowney. Not sure where he will go. A lot of people think he lost a step. He might have lost a step or two, but he still was able to produce 6 sacks on the season out of 14 games. That's more production than some people, his juniors, have even accomplished for the 2020 season. I mean, he's no Nick Bosa or anything, but he is 33 years old, and he's been in the league for over 10 years. So Everson Griffen is definitely still someone defenses have to account for. My name is Derek. This is the Gridiron Blitz. Be sure to like the video if you like Detroit Lions content. Make sure you subscribe as well and ring that notification bell, because when the season gets here, we've got 4 NFL live streams a week. Detroit Lions live shows, videos, and then the XFL approaches, and we got those as well. So it's something, if you love football, you'll love this channel. Be sure to check out the Infinite Sports YouTube page, which will be the pinned comment, and subscribe for daily news, rumors, and analysis of your favorite sports teams.